So I'll tell my origin story.
If you
I,
want.
yeah, I will. It's okay. This is the time, and I got
Hmm.
the right background. Um, yeah, I was born in the American Midwest, in Indiana, a long, long time ago. Um, and my youth was really spent in my teenage years and early 20s in the 60s and the 70s,
Hmm.
uh, which were uh, which were in the United States and maybe other parts of the world, very tumultuous times, a lot of great change, conflict, transformation of many different kinds. So it was an exciting time to be alive.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was very much a part of all that as a young person. I was involved in on a political level in the anti-war movement here in the United States. And it was a time when the environmental movement, uh, the Martin Luther King, all those assassinations, Bobby Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination, so many other things were happening that are still going on today in some ways like I said, with the environmental movement, the women's movement, justice movement, civil rights, all that uh, received a turbocharge in the 60s and 70s. I was part of that. And also, an interesting thing is from the East, a lot of metaphysical and Eastern mysticism knowledge, gurus, books came to America, and it opened up a lot of people. And I was one of those as well. Uh, Learning to meditate, getting interested in astrology and yoga, lots of just lots of knowledge opening up. Well, along the way, another thing that really was opening up was the UFO field. There were there was a wave of contactees in the late 40s and all during the 1950s, who were reporting this, and the newspapers were pretty open at the time. So you could see headlines of people who were experiencing, you know, things that they saw.
Hmm.
And then they started making fun of those people thereafter, like in the 60s and onwards. And that's what we call the cover up that's been going for 80 years. But those early contactees made it exciting. Some of them were phonies, but I think a lot of them were on the level because their experiences were genuine and they were writing books. They were holding conferences like in the Southern California desert at Giant Rock, at Landers, where thousands of people would show up. So it was a thing, the contactee movement of that time. And I picked up one of the books by one of the authors back in the day, and I don't remember which one, but the book was full of pictures of that this person had captured of a disc-shaped object with domes. You know, the real classic saucer thing,
Hmm.
because they were called flying saucers back then,
Hmm.
as well as other things. Picking up a book on UFOs was exciting, but here's the thing: I had a regular life that I led. Uh, I dropped my interest in the UFO topic and I went and had what I call a real normal life. I guess the word is normie these days,
For me.
the slang. And I went to university and got a degree in computer science and a minor in mathematics, with the intention of going to work in that field. And I did. I came out to California in the Silicon Valley, and I spent the next 30 to 40 years working in the Silicon Valley as a software consultant and doing very well at it and having a lot of fun. But in 2006, while I was still had a day job and was in my second marriage here in the San Francisco Bay Area, um, I encountered a group of people who, well, let me back up and say that I decided one day when I was on the internet, again, 2006, to put the word UFO into the Google search of the day and just see what happens. Well, try doing that. You'll get a million results. But what I discovered by doing that was something that just was fascinating, and that was learning that there were people who were not only believed in the UFO UAP phenomenon and had had experiences, but they were communicating. They were doing what's called close encounters of the fifth kind,
Hmm.
CE5, where you do the interactive connection and communication with the intelligences that are piloting these craft. So it's a step beyond just seeing lights in the sky or seeing something on the ground. And that step is where you bridge a communication gap and you contact the intelligence and you see what kind of conversation you can get going. So this group of people was doing that kind of contact using meditation, visualization. And it was about 4 hours from my house where they were holding a meeting. And this was in Mount Shasta in Northern California, a really famous mountain,
Mhm.
famous for a lot of paranormal and UFO, UAP type activity over the years. So I went for a week to join this group, very excited because suddenly my interest in UFOs from my childhood suddenly was reignited by discovering this group, and I thought I'll give it a try. And I have to admit, there was part of me that was a little fearful because
Mhm.
I had grown up with a lot of interest in the Hollywood movies, which by and large, whatever their flavor was, portraying cosmic life as being ugly and threatening and wanting to eat us, exploit
Very
us, take us
dramatic.
over. What's that?
Very dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic and mostly evil. I mean, there was definitely some exceptions along the way. So that instills fear in people, and I think that was by design, by the way, that Hollywood was enlisted to create that kind of thought form for the masses to be afraid, be very afraid, because a cover up was going on by other powers of this topic, and it was to their advantage to keep the population in a fearful mode rather than seeing the truth and wanting to explore the truth for themselves. Nonetheless, there were people that were exploring the truth for themselves, and I wanted to join that group and give that a try. At the time, I asked my wife if Hollis if she would like to go with me for the week, and she said, it is a big universe, and I believe that there's life out there and that life is visiting here, definitely. But I'm very practical. I have a couple of businesses I have to run,
Mhm.
and I can't take the time off. I don't see what their presence here has to do with my life, even though I believe that
Mhm.
they are here, but I don't see what it has to do with my everyday life and paying my bills and running my business. So she said, "Go, have fun. I support you, and let's stay in touch during the week." Well, we did. During that week, I had three different experiences. Two of them up close and personal that changed my life, so that here I am many years later, still pursuing this topic and running a community across the planet of people like myself who are making their own contact and expanding their knowledge and being part of a large community now that's growing all the time. So it all started there by having my own experience. And I like to say to people that there's two stages. You can be, well, three. You can be a non-believer in this phenomenon and just say no, doesn't exist. Plenty of people are like that. Or you can be someone maybe who's on the fence. That makes for four stages. Someone who's on the fence who has an open mind. You might be
Mhm.
skeptical, but your mind is open. Or you can be someone who does believe that the UFOs, UAPs, cosmic life exists. And then you can be someone who not only believes, but you had an experience, and then you become a knower. And that's what my community is about these days, and always has been, helping people to go from being believers into knowers, because being a knower puts you in a whole different category where you
Mhm.
get to decide, one, am I crazy? Did I see what I saw? I believe I did. I believe in myself. What do I do with it?
Mhm.
The choices are there. Do you stuff it, keep it inside? Do you try to tell only the people who are close to you and trusted? Or do you
Mhm.
stand on a rooftop and shout it to the world, and then wait for the reaction to come back? And it will, one way or the other. I chose to stand on a rooftop. And because of the internet, after the two up close experiences, and then there was a third one involving my wife, and here I am years later, because I had those up close and personal experiences, also in the company of other people, which were undeniably a contact with an intelligence not from this planet.
Mhm.
And I tell those stories actually, uh, in my community and when I do interviews in more detail. because
Mhm.
they were very dramatic for me. But basically, that's it. Going from having a normie life to having a couple cosmic experiences and realizing that um, we may know a lot as humans about science and about our existence, but we sure as heck don't know everything because I've seen things and experienced things, as I know many others have, which are paranormal, which are outside the realm of what we think of as our complete knowledge of things. And we don't have that. And that's the mystery out there. Like, how did they do that? How did they materialize in front of me? One of the questions I asked as I watched the spaceship literally materialize in front of me, a small one. Right then and there, if you are honest with yourself, you say, there must be some kind of physics that we don't understand yet that made what I just saw possible.
Mhm.
And I have to be willing to have an open mind to learn what that might be. And if you're me, you want to learn, right? Because there are many people who are always explorers. You show them something new that is outside the box. And instead of going back in the box and covering their head and saying, no, no, that didn't happen, doesn't exist, some people step outside the box and go, okay, what is there to learn here? We don't know everything. I'm willing to experiment, willing
Mhm.
to pursue this path and see how my reality can widen. Fortunately, these days, there are many people, especially the younger generations now around the planet, who are open to new knowledge.
Mhm.
And I think that will basically save the world someday soon
Mhm.
because they are that way and are not just stuck in the old paradigm of materialism. But that's a whole nother topic. However, the UFO UAP topic does intersect with that. You know, we
Mhm.
have to figure out what is it we know about reality? What do we think we know? And then suddenly with UFOs, UAPs, they show up and you have to stick your head outside the box and try to find an explanation. And again, if you're honest, you may want to pursue and figure out how they do that. Is there something for me to learn? And what's the next bold step I can take into the future with this?
Mhm.
So that's basically my story of how I got to here. And there's something new, something expanding every day in this field. I believe the best is yet to come because from information I've been given, as have other people, the day will come when there's full open contact on
Mhm.
Earth. And this is a complicated topic, as well as disclosure, which is on the minds of many people. They say, when will disclosure happen? When will some government make an announcement, some prime minister, some president
Mhm.
stand in front of the cameras of the world and say, yeah, they've been around for 80 years. We've been talking to them. We know all about this and we've been covering it up. Sorry
Mhm.
about that. We've been calling you crazy, making you lose your jobs, breaking up your marriages. Sorry about that. But
Yeah.
a lot of people won't like that to hear that. But that's eventually what's going to happen because so many people, well, so many people know the truth by the millions right now because
Mhm.
they've had their own experiences. Uh, and that's what a lot of people in this field are looking for is the official disclosure, that announcement. And what we did in the People's Disclosure Movement is my star friends, and I do have star friends, many of us do, in 2010 helped create what's called the People's Disclosure Movement, where the power, we take back the power to ourselves instead of waiting for the government to tell us what we already know because we had an experience. We instead take that power back and we crowdsource among each other our experiences together so that as a
Mhm.
community, we do the disclosure ourselves. You know, why do you need someone to make that announcement when you have just seen something or your friends have that is literally out of this world? It's game over. You already believe, and you just need to tell someone else who will tell someone else. And organically, as more people have these experiences, that's the disclosure. You don't
Mhm.
need someone in power to tell you what you already know. However, there are many people that do need that.
Yeah.
So in the People's Disclosure Movement, we're all about we doing the disclosure and enjoying it that way. Trading our stories, trying to put together the pieces of the jigsaw. Nobody has the whole picture, but talking to each other and sharing these stories with a little piece that kind of completes the bigger picture. So we're an experimental community. We don't have all the answers, but as more and more people make contact, we'll continue to get more answers, and that's what the People's Disclosure continues to be about. I mean, think about it. Here we are, 200 years ago. People could not have imagined that invisible waves in the air, right, invisible to our eyes, would lead to us holding a device in our hand where we could talk to the other side of the earth within a second and see a full picture of someone. 200 years ago, that was unheard of. It was magic. People were burned at the stake for thoughts like that, right? So what I'm saying is that don't say you know everything that you think you know. There's always something new, and that's what science really is about. It's continuing the exploration, not thinking that you know it all, because you're going to be wrong. And that's the people 200 years ago were wrong, and now we hold up this just to prove that what they said was impossible is routine now. A kid in a hut on the other side of the world can own one of these phones and talk to you and me. And that, again, was unthinkable. So never say never is what I'm saying. Keep an open mind and keep learning and keep talking to other people, because as we crowdsource this, you'll realize that not only can you not say, no, I don't have any doubts, but you'll find other people who are as sure as you are. And that's where your tribe is.